Let's turn our attention to the very real problem in this country of anti-Semitism. It was on full display in Melbourne this week after a ceasefire in the Middle East motion, stupidly put to the Melbourne City Council, by the way, was narrowly voted down by that council. Pro-Palestinian protesters, now they were outside the front of the Melbourne Town Hall. There's about 200 of them there, apparently, pushing and shoving 3 Jewish community members who were trying to get into that council meeting. Now, the reports are that those 3 were carrying an Israeli flag and there was Palestinian flags everywhere. Now, strangely, Victoria Police removed 2 of the 3 Jewish members of the public, police say, for their own safety. Then issued those 2 men, this is what I can't work out, with orders, legal orders, not to come back into the CBD of Melbourne for 24 hours. Police have been very quick to shut this all down. Now, have a look at what happened outside those doors.
They continue to commit this genocide against the Palestinians of Gaza using Australian weapons. As reported by November last week, Australia...
It's ugly and there's no place for this in Australia. Joining me to discuss this, the Australian Jewish Association President Dr David Adler. What did you make of what happened outside the town hall on Tuesday night, David?
Look, this is another shameful episode for Australia, Steve, and let me make it clear that people need to understand Australia's reputation is being trashed internationally. Some of these events are being reported in the United States, they're being reported in the UK and obviously, as you would expect, in Israel. And it's horrible to see. I didn't expect in my lifetime that we would see this overt anti-Jewish activity, the anti-Semitism on the streets of our capital cities. And the policing, as you sort of hinted, was most peculiar. You would have expected that our police would protect ordinary citizens going about legitimate activities. In this case, the 3 people had tickets to attend the meeting. They had tickets with them for the public gallery of the Melbourne City Council. And what the police should have done when they were obstructed, and you can see on the video quite clearly they were obstructed by the protesters, is help them get safe passage and facilitate their entry. That would have avoided everything. But instead, they allowed the scuffle to occur. The older Jewish guy, his name's Mark, I won't use his surname, was pushed and fell on his back. He was very fortunate not to be injured. And the police dragged away the Jewish people and gave them a move-on order. Meanwhile, those that did the assault, those that caused the obstruction, have no consequences at all. I mean, is this the sort of Australia, is this the sort of democracy we want in public?
Well, it's almost like going back to those awful scenes outside the Sydney Opera House where Jewish people were told to stay away.
Look, you're quite right. It is an echo of that. And there was, on that occasion, one Jewish guy who had an Israeli flag. He was the one who was detained and also given a move-on order. And meanwhile, the mob in front of the Opera House burnt flags, let off flares. They chanted all sorts of things, we would say, including gas the Jews, but where's the Jews, F the Jews, Intifada, which is a violent movement for murdering people, which is, all these things are incitement to violence, and again, no legal consequences. I think that a number of people have said to me that maybe the police are actually a bit afraid of the more extreme elements in our Muslim community. They don't want to tackle them. It's much easier to pull aside a few people from the Jewish community. We don't tend to behave in that manner.
Yes, and I think the police probably need to come out and give us a fuller explanation of why they acted the way they did on Tuesday night. Dr David Adler, always a pleasure to catch up with you. Thank you very much for joining us.